Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Heal It Show with Ken D. Foster. It's good to have you here today. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to my heart and everybody's heart out there, because we're going to be talking about anger. Well, it's maybe we're talking about breaking your heart, right? The reason I say it's near and dear is because I believe everybody on the planet experiences anger. It's not about not experiencing it. It's about how do you react when you feel that presence of upset coming into your body. How do you react? How do you respond in like kind and anger back? Do you get intense? Or are you a person that maybe defaults to a place of a space between your thoughts? You get calm, you become an observer, and you're able to express your anger in ways that are really appropriate. So I bet a lot of you are thinking, you know what, I would really love to master my mind and master my anger so that I could express in ways that would be highly effective and become a better communicator. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Anger, sometimes we're going to talk, well, here's what I want to talk about. What motivates anger, what boundaries you might need to set up so that you don't express anger in negative ways. I'd like you to also we're going to talk about self-reflection and how to self-reflect so that you become a lot more effective as a communicator. We'll be talking about that and a whole bunch more with my guest who specializes. Her latest book is all about anger. And so I brought her here to you today because I know some of you are not expressing the way that you'd like to express, and you'd like to step into a better version of yourself when it comes to anger. So we're going to be talking about this and so much more when we get back from the break. Okay, here we go.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster, and I'm pleased to introduce Dr. J.J. Kelly. Dr. Kelly, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I was during the break, I was looking at the book again and just laughing. I love the title of your latest book. So we're going to be talking about that. But before we get there, let me introduce my audience to you. Dr. J.J. Kelly is a licensed clinical psychologist and emotional intelligence skills training expert. Dr. Kelly is the CEO and founder of Unorthodox.inc, punk alternative to traditional psychotherapy and mental health practice. She focuses on group processes, mentorship, peer coaching, community outreach, laughter, and love. I just love that. I love your colors today, your glasses. I love, it brings joy in my heart to see you. That's what I get. Great to have.
Thank you.
You're opposite of anger, it's that joy key, right? In this moment, anyway. Yeah, that's right. All right, listen, man. You got this crazy new book out. It's called Holy SH quote T. So this is anger. Holy shit, this is anger. So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, post-pandemic attitudes on the street was the major inspiration. I think that people just got full.
You could have written it at the election too. I mean, we just had an election. You could have written it then too.
I know. It is a relevant topic for sure because most people do not effectively manage their anger.
Yeah. Most people don't, and I've spent the last 30 years working on mine. I mean, I could be intense, I could be reactive, and self-reflection on that every time, I'm, there was a point in my life I was sick and tired of saying I'm sorry. So I was like, okay, I think I need to really work on this issue. So what is the cause, what would you say, of anger, right? Why?
Well, I think first we have to remember that anger is an emotion like any other emotion. So it's not worse than other emotions. It's just yet another one we need to manage. I think of anger as the emotion that signals to us that our boundaries are being crossed. So it's an important one to validate and then problem solve around.
I like that a lot. And also in my own discovery of anger, it seems like it's for some, for me specifically, but for a lot, I think it's that feeling of not getting what you want or the feeling that you're going to lose what you're going to have. That seems to trigger it for me. So that thing or other piece. Yeah. That I just mentioned. So let's talk about the boundary piece. So when people, cross people's boundaries, and that happens consciously or unconsciously to all of us, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, what do we do?
Well, the first thing we always do is we name our emotion. So I've been talking to people for decades about building your emotions vocabulary in order to build your emotional intelligence. Then you have more of an awareness and you can actually make choices about how you want to behave instead of just being overwhelmed by an emotion and reacting from it without any sort of mindfulness. So I finally made this wheel of emotions because there were so many out there, lists and wheels and things that they have thoughts in them, not just emotions. And we do a lot to raise our awareness about the difference between thoughts and emotions, because everybody thinks they know the difference, but they don't. And everybody thinks they have a vocabulary for their emotions, but they don't. I ask geniuses, how did you feel when that happened? And they say, bad. Yeah. Bad and good are not emotions. That's a pretty primitive emotions vocabulary. So even if you think that you have one, I encourage people always to build their emotions vocabulary and just get into a practice of naming it all day long.
So I love that. There seems like there's basic emotions like happy and sad and feeling a sense of love, a sense of connection. There's basic. But I like what you're saying. So give me that wheel. Get that. I want to list out some of the ones that you put there on that wheel.
Yeah, I think what's really important is that the experience of rage is different than mild annoyance, right? And I think what you were describing for you, it's a frustration and impatience. And I think there's even some fear and worry in there too. Worry that you're not going to get what you want. So we think that we experience emotions in a linear way, one at a time. And that's often not the case either. It's much more complicated than that. So hostile is on here. And I think people don't really understand that hostile is unacknowledged anger. So that's nuanced as well.
It seems like they're on a continuum. So, like you just said,
A spectrum.
Annoyed. There's annoyed, a little upset, feeling anger, feeling rage. It's like a continuum. It's not just one. Is that what you're saying?
We look at all emotions on a spectrum. Yes.
Spectrum. Yeah, that's a better word for it. Okay. Yeah. Very good. Okay. And so when one starts out to build their vocabulary, where do you start?
The wheel.
The wheel. And, okay.
Yes. You put it on the fridge and you ask yourself all day long, what am I feeling right now? And then you discipline yourself to go.
Oh, very good.
And name it.
And
it's really that basic.
Yeah. Where does my audience get the wheel from?
Oh, I got a free one on the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So is that I'm gonna put that, since we're talking about it right now. Is that at the Dr. J.J. Kelly?
Yep.
Okay. So we're putting that on the screen there. drjjkelly.com. drjjkelly.com for my listening audience. That's where you can get the wheel. I love this. I love the wheel.
Yeah. I do too. Yeah. I want to make it out of vinyl so it looks like a record and it spins on the I got all kinds of toys.
Put it up there for a second. On camera here, JJ. And so people can look and see what it is. Okay, so it's on two sides. Okay. And what's the difference of the sides there?
Well, I purposely make joy the one with the most words, because I think that's what life's about. And because what I have found over the years is even if people have somewhat of a vocabulary, it is mostly the negative emotions: sadness, anger, fear, shame. And when I ask them about joy and love, they're at a loss. And that breaks my heart. So I'm always working the positive ones too. But there's a vulnerability in that. So, we're not encouraged so much to do that when it's what we all want.
Yeah, exactly. I really love this. So there is, we can master these feelings. We can master emotions by expanding our vocabulary. Once we expand vocabulary, then what? So I know now I can name my tune, name that tune. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, but I still got the emotion. Like, I can name it. Now what do I do with that?
Yes, that is the question. Yes. Once you're able to name it, then you can problem solve around it, because the naming of it creates a little bit of distance from it, so you can become the observer, as you said earlier. You can be the observer of your emotion instead of overtaken by the emotion, which increases reactivity. So now you've named it, which means you're activated. So just the naming of it can bring you closer to your baseline. So it brings the emotion down a little bit, and then you can make a decision how you want to behave. You're at that crossroads then, that choice point, as I call it. And then you can decide which road to take, and you make that decision based on your values.
It was Nikola Tesla that said, if you want to understand the universe, understand energy, frequency, and vibration. So what I'm sensing here is there's different vibration, there's different frequency to each one of these emotions. And I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole there, but is that accurate? Would you say that?
I think that it's further. Yes. Is it energy? Absolutely. Are we starting to get into frequencies and vibrations? Sure. And most people actually think the highest frequency is love. However, it's authenticity. And That's why I had to fight for curse words to be in my books and in the title. But I ride the horse the way it's going. You know what I mean? Like, I am me. I get to have flaws. I work on them, whatever. And some people consider cursing a flaw. I don't. But, not everybody likes it. However, they can trust that I am who I say I am. And that is the vehicle for healing.
Yes.
Regardless, we don't have to agree on anything. Our values may not match, but the skills will still work when applied to your own values.
100%. And I love what you said. The highest vibration is authenticity, because authenticity reminds me of who I am outside of this three-dimensional body, mind. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not this body. I'm something greater than that. And when I'm in that place, when I'm being authentic with that, then my life is in flow. It is flowing. And I believe most people are that way. And, emotions seem to enhance our experience here, but we're not our emotions, and I think people really got to get that, because sometimes we identify as, I'm an angry person. I'm a procrastinating person. I'm a depressed person. These identities are all made up.
Right. And you are not your emotions. And that's not a personality trait. It's an emotional experience that you can make choices mindfully to manage. And that is what I teach.
I love that. Listen, I got to take a quick break. When we come back, you have a background in punk culture. And when I think of the punk culture, I think of rebels. I think of revolution. I think of upshifting. I think of change. I'm really interested in exploring this. So and how this ties into emotion and what we're doing here. So we'll be right back, and we'll explore that as we move forward. All right.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. Guess what? They want your money and they can take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter right over here that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you right now. So what do? You fight back by letting our team of experts work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And hey, we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws, and we'll fight really hard to save your money. So, if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket. 5 minutes of your time right now can save you thousands of dollars. And the best part, it's a free call, so please call right now.
Well, welcome back. This is Ken D. Foster, your host for the Heal It Show, and I have Dr. J.J. Kelly, as you know, on the show. We'll be right back with her, but I want to remind you to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. And this show, like any show that you love, I encourage you to participate in it. And the way you participate is by sharing it with family and friends and those you care about, so that they can also upshift their thinking. Be able to get the understanding, the wisdom, the solutions to heal just about anything they have going on in the world. In fact, I know we can heal anything once we acknowledge it and we get on the path. All right. Here, back to my amazing guest, Dr. J.J. Kelly. And if you don't know J.J., she is a licensed clinical psychologist. She's an emotional intelligence training expert and so much more. All right. The punk culture. How'd you get involved in that? And what that describes it for me? Because a lot of people have a lot of negative thinking around the punk culture, right? Which I know.
Yeah. What kind of negative thinking?
Yeah, I think you can dispel that. So tell us about the punk culture and how it influenced your life.
Well, I mean, angry teenager, and Gen X. So, punk was all around. Punk, hip hop, all of it. And, fight fight the man, don't trust anybody over 30, which is hilarious to me now when I deal with I work with a lot of teenagers, and I'm always thinking, wow, I am more than your age, older than 30. So like, why you trust me is beyond me. So anti-conformity, there's conformity, there's anti-conformity, and then that middle ground is non-conformity. And I believe that's where authenticity lies. You start out and you do everything your parents say, and then you're a teenager and you do everything opposite your parents say, and that doesn't really work either, but it's a necessary step in development. And then you go on to integrate, you're going to keep some of the values that your parents taught you. You're going to slough off some others, and you're going to make it your own. And that's, teen, young adult, and we continue to do that. We expand and we grow and we change. And you have to be in a mindset of welcoming change, welcoming maybe not being right about everything. And that's okay, because then you can go explore and figure out what you really do believe in. And you have to have a certain level of self-confidence and self-esteem to have that kind of freedom and behave from that place.
I really love that a lot. And, teens and children and adults, right? I'm going to bring it back to the anger piece. Everybody experiences that emotion in different, different ways. With our emotions, some people default to depression, right? Their anger turns into depression, right? Some people default to rioting, okay? Hopefully that's not you. Am I talking to my audience? But listen, there's a lot of misconceptions around the anger piece. Can we address some of that?
Yeah. I think it's because of the behaviors that people engage in when they're angry. People are popping off, they're blowing up, they're yelling, or the violence, a lot of those things can come from anger. And it's not anger's fault. It's not the experience of the emotion of anger. It is unmanaged anger. It's reactivity and impulsivity that often comes from that hot emotion. And people don't name it and then get themselves back to baseline before they make a decision about how they want to behave.
Yeah. Do you think, it seems like a lot of anger does come from fear, the fear, maybe I rephrase it, the fear of not getting what you want, the fear of losing what you have, the fear of, some people are attached to certain things. I'm afraid, this, I'm going to have to let this go, or, what underlies anger for most people?
I don't think it's a most thing. I mean, people talk about primary and secondary emotions, and I don't really jive with that, because I think, as I said earlier, we have a lot of different emotions at the same time, and we are that complex. So let's just deal with the reality of the complexity by raising our emotional intelligence. So fear can be in there. Depression's often talked about as anger turned inward. There are gender differences as well. Men are generally thought of in our society as weak if they admit that they're afraid, even though all human animals are wired for fear. Right. So what's the only emotion that men in America are allowed to feel? Anger. I mean, that has not worked out great. And then you look at, women are often taught to stuff the anger, that it's not polite or it's not ladylike or whatever to get pissed off. And so they stuff it, and then it leaks out in dangerous ways as well. Yeah. So it can be just as destructive to stuff anger as to explode. Everybody has to learn how to name it, validate that by naming it, and get real specific about what kind of anger you're feeling. If you don't know, but you suspect it's anger, I have people go to the wheel, name each one, and say yes, no, maybe.
Love
and when
it.
you get a lot of yeses, then you know you're in the right department, you know?
Yeah. So you mentioned one thing, Dr. JJ, that that people you said you were complex beings and you can have more emotions than just one at a time. But did I understand that correctly? Because I can feel love and hate at the same time, or happiness
Sure.
and sadness at the same time. Yeah.
Sure. It's even more complex than that. You can feel sadness and anger at the same time. Frustration and sadness are often parts of grief. You can feel joy or you could feel love and sadness in grief.
I'm such a simple person. I always think it's just one emotion at a time.
Everybody does, man. Everybody, because we want it to be simple like that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
we think it's more manageable, but that's ass backwards, right? Because we will be better at it if we learn more about emotions. We can't logic our way out of emotional experiences, and I think that's what a lot of people do because they haven't been taught differently.
Yeah, that's really good. So you can't logic your way out of emotional feelings. Can you feel your way out of emotional feelings?
I don't know exactly what you mean by that. In dialectics, it's both. You use both your logic and your emotion, but denial of the emotion is usually where people go, suppress it, and that's not effective long term.
Yeah, no, I can see that. All right, so I want to put up the book cover here up on the screen. We're going to have to move over a little bit, I think, because it's a big cover. Here we go. Okay. Here's the book is Holy Shit. So this is Anger by Dr. J.J. Kelly. And how do people get your book, by the way?
Oh, the website has everything. The TikTok has so much free information and Instagram too, but it's all at drjjkelly.com. It's on Amazon, Audible. It's even free on Spotify for folks that can't afford it. So it's everywhere.
Yeah, I love that. Well, if we, it's like anything else in life. If we get to the place where you go, you know what? I'm sick and tired of always being angry. I'm sick and tired of expressing myself this way. And then you say, okay, I'm done with this. I've got to figure it out. And then you get on that quest of I'm going to work on these emotions. I'm going to master these emotions. I'm going to understand my emotions. I'm going to expand my vocabulary of emotions. That's the quest. But, I love that you're giving them the tools right now, my audience. Right now, you can go and get JJ's book. You can go on her website, which we're showing on the screen, Dr. JJ Kelly, KELLY.com. And you can get the anger, wheel so that you can start to name your emotions. What's next? They get your book. They're doing this. What then what? Let's, for some of them, it's going to be a quest. And, how long does it take to master our emotions? I don't know. You tell me.
How long does it take? Well, I often talk about the anger work with the metaphor of Shawshank Redemption. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, years ago, yeah.
Well, I talk about doing the anger work because it's a process, and I refer to it as the shit tunnel because remember Andy Dufresne, he gets into it, he busts into this sewage tunnel, and then he's crawling through and he's barfing and everything, and it's just gross and terrible. He chose to get in it, and they describe it in terms of like a football field or something like that. And so it's a long way, a really long way. And he's crawling through, and he has to crawl through the whole thing to get free on the other side where they have that great shot where he's like, it's panned down and it's raining and he's finally free. So I want to remind people that it is a process, and oftentimes, particularly with the anger work, it gets worse before it gets better because you are acknowledging your anger more through naming and validating the emotions, which means you're going to be more aware of that emotion before you've mastered the skills. So you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have that discomfort of acknowledging and not running away from your anger. So that's raising awareness, and then we start applying the skills, and then you go try them. It's not just listening to me. You go try them and you gather your own data, and then you're like, oh, she might actually know what she's talking about. And then when it works, then I can give you more to try so that you don't wear out that one. Then you have, a toolbox of tools that you can use in different situations, because sometimes you're going to want to just blow it off. Someone pisses you off and you're like, man, it's not actually worth it. And sometimes you're going to want to take action and set some boundaries or say something. You know what? Stop that. Stop talking to me like that.
Good.
It's up to you.
I got another quick break, but I want to address an issue that a lot of people don't relate to anger, and that is values. So we're going to talk about how values relate to anger when we come back. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So, Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. We're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here. Did you know that I wear hearing aids? I love my hearing aids, and I am here to help you get a deal on the same brand I wear.
Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get MD Hearing's revolutionary Neo hearing aids for just $297 a pair. The Neo is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. And you can get 2 Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime US-based support for only $297. The Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call now and get not 1 but 2 Neo hearing aids for just $297.
800-789-7885. Again, that's 800-789-7885.
Welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster, and I'm talking with anger expert, Dr. J.J. Kelly, about her experience around this subject, and also she's got a new book out there, which we've been talking about. Dr. Kelly, values in anger. When somebody crosses our values, how does values tie in with anger? I'm trying to get a hold of that.
Yeah, I think that the values are important to know what's important to you in your life so that you know how you want to behave, so you can plan out. We call that baseline, right? You're cruising along, you're totally calm, everything's groovy. And then something happens and it activates you, and now you're really high above or below, however you want to describe it. You're off baseline. And you want to get back to your baseline before you make any decisions, because if you make a decision when you're activated and you feel rage, oftentimes you make a decision from there, it makes messes that you have to clean up later, and that usually is shame. And that's a big part of the anger thing, is people behave in a certain way when they're emotionally activated. They didn't name it. They didn't get back to baseline. They didn't make a decision based on their values, how they wanted to behave, and they popped off. They did something that they don't actually they doesn't actually match their values, and now they feel shame. And then there's the whole cover up of shame because they rationalize it and, well, they did this to me, so it's okay that and it's all bullshit, and we all do it. And then the shame is compiled onto the anger, and we just try to get away from it.
Oh, it sounds very complicated. So the blame game, the shame game, the guilt game, the remorse game, and now we're compounded it. And what you're saying is that really, guys, what we need to do here is learn the language of your emotions, right? Name those emotions so that you can feel those emotions and express those emotions in a appropriate way, whatever appropriate,
in a way that matches your values, so you can be proud of yourself and build self-esteem and self-confidence instead of erode it with reactivity and impulsivity.
That's interesting. It seems like that piece about eroding our self-confidence, eroding our values, eroding our character. It's a piece that's not talked about much, but it's very real.
It's so important. It's our grounder. If we, I do this exercise around values a lot, and people freak out and overthink it. What are my values even? Well, like maybe courage is in your values, maybe family, maybe spirituality, playfulness and joy is on my values list. So if, let's say, honesty is on it, then, or the courage to be honest, well, then if you're popping off on somebody and then you're justifying it to yourself later, that's already lying. It might not be conscious, but it's not true. So now you're violating your values of harming another, as well as trying to rationalize it to yourself. So you're off your values. And when we do this exercise, it's so great because you get a list and you brain dump them, and they usually like collapse into like a top 5. And then the second column I do with people is, what are the behaviors you're currently engaging in that don't match your values? And you got to get real honest and brave with yourself when you start talking about those behaviors make your life worse instead of better. But if you know those behaviors and you're honest with yourself and brave enough to admit it, then you can plan for the next time it happens. What do you want to do instead of what you usually do, which makes you feel crummy? And crummy's not actually on the wheel, but you know what I mean? It makes you feel shame. It makes you feel remorse. It makes you feel sad.
It's interesting because I can think of some things that people would rationalize. Yeah, but it makes me feel good too. I can think of people that they're taking their drugs or their alcohol, or they're oversexing, or they're overeating, or they're doing something. They go, well, yeah, that's my value to be happy and thin, but I kind of like this. It broadens my life, or how do we deal with the rationalizations?
Yeah, it doesn't broaden your life. It's self-medication. And self-medication is trying to get away from your emotional experience because you don't know how to manage it. It probably scares you. And everybody self-medicates in all different ways. However, that isn't the emotionally intelligent thing to do. And no amount of bullshit is going to make it true in your heart. You can feel when you're not telling the truth, even if you spin a good game. It doesn't matter. Inside, Yeah.
I think introspection is a really key component of being able to solve the anger problem. So it's the introspection at the end of the day. First of all, it's the courage to tell the truth to yourself, right? So you tell the truth and you say, well, today, what worked for me? What didn't work for me? What can I do to improve tomorrow? And we're talking about emotion. We're talking about your anger. We're focusing just on those issues, right? What worked to me? Did I communicate effectively today? Was I Was I calm in my body? Did I explode? Did I react? Okay, I did. Great.
Right.
Let me replay that. How would I like to have reacted in a different way? I think by doing those types of works, we can really get to the understanding of that we have control over this. We're not just floating around space and wandering around in ignorance that we can't change somehow, right? Yeah.
Right. Yes, definitely.
Okay. So when someone reads the book, holy shit, this is anger, what are they going to walk away with?
They're going to walk away with the tools to identify when they get angry, the types of situations that usually trigger anger. They're going to know that their triggers are their responsibility, not the other person. We often are like, you're triggering me, as though that person is supposed to do something about it. Not necessarily. There are a million reasons we could be triggered. They all reside within us and our personal history. So you are responsible for your triggers. And so you identify them so that you can plan for when that thing happens, which it inevitably will again. So you can decide ahead of time, how do I want to behave instead of how I usually behave? And then you can use your imagination. Pick 3 different ways that would be better outcomes potentially than what you usually do. And you know what? Courage rarely backfires. So just try anything other than your usual, and you're building your emotional intelligence.
Well, courage doesn't usually show up until we step into the unknown. So it's like you step into the unknown. Courage is actually a feeling, right? So when you step into the unknown, you feel this new sense of power, a new sense of I don't know, pizzazz in your life. Listen, I want to let my audience know there's a reason that we do the work around anger. Okay. The results that you will experience are things like you're going to be calm under pressure. You probably won't have to say you're sorry as much. You're probably going to have more energy and enthusiasm for life. You're probably going to have better connections with those around you, and so much more. What other benefits do we get when we let go of this anger habit?
Way less anxiety. I kind of accidentally stumbled on the fact that people who chronically stuff their anger, ignore their anger, are in denial about their anger, have panic attacks. People were coming to me with panic attacks, and for some reason, I just had an intuitive hit one day that it might be the pressure cooker effect of their anger, because there's energy, as you said, to emotions. And if you just cap it off, that energy builds and it's got to go somewhere. And a lot of people that came to me with panic attacks, once we did the anger work, no more panic attacks, or they'd have one more panic attack and come in, and I'd be like, well, so what were you feeling at the time? Well, I was scared or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know. While you were having the panic attack, sure, you were scared, you were terrified. I get it. What happened before that? And of course, we discover that they were pissed off and denying it. It's a funny thing.
That's a breakthrough. That's a breakthrough. I think that's something that needs to be talked about out there. There's always cause and effect. And, a lot of times you go to some, well-meaning doctor or psychiatrist, psychologist even, or teacher, therapist, and they don't know the reason of, let's say, a panic attacks. They just don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. That just tells me, when somebody tells me I don't know, I believe them, and I say thank you so much. And then I find the person that does know.
Yeah.
Right? So right now we're talking about a person that does know the cause and effect of panic attacks. All right.
Yeah.
Is it end all be all? Is there physical reasons, or are there mental reasons, or there spiritual reasons? Maybe, but this is a big cause. This is a big cause.
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah. All right, man, JJ, we're out of time. I can't believe a time like that. What a great,
Yeah, do
what a great time we've had. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your strength, your hope, your brilliance on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you too.
And go get her book. Holy shit, this is anger. You can get it on anywhere books are sold. And she's got a series of the Holy Shit books. So you might want to check out some of the other ones. First, get that one. Work on your anger. All right. Thank you so much. And I want to thank all of you for watching today. It's been another brilliant show. Please pass this on to your family and friends and those that you care about. You know, there are issues. There are family members I know and people you know that have anger issues. The old anger habit can be broken, and you can be the one that helps that person by passing on this show. Take care. Till next time.